All right. Good morning, guys. My name is RJ Connell, and I am a life design strategist. So, if this is one of your first time catching one of my live broadcasts, I want to welcome you. I'm a life design strategist. So, what that means is I help you identify your skills and your tools, and I help you use them to create a business that is purposeful and that where you can live in your passion and create the life that you want for yourself. So I'm going to be talking today about three of the biggest challenges that new entrepreneurs face or that you'll face as you're learning to step into your purpose. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with you today. Please bear with me. I've been losing my voice over the last couple of days, so I'm going to do the best with what I have, and I'm going to try to make sure that I'm audible in everything that I'm saying. Hi, good morning. So I'm going to actually jump right into this because there's a lot that you have to cover. So also, before we get started, make sure you have something to take notes with because you're going to want to write these things down. So one of the biggest challenges that you are likely to face either as a new entrepreneur or when you're just starting out your business, one of those biggest challenges that you're going to be facing is something called imposter syndrome. If you have never heard of imposter syndrome, I want to break it down for you a little bit. Imposter syndrome is defined by as high achievers who are unable to internalize their own success. And as a result, they often dismiss it. So that's a little bit of a wordy definition, but I want to give you a practical example so that you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. So as an example, let's say that you graduated university. I'm going to use an example of mine that's personal to me. So you graduated university and someone, is congratulating you and they're like, awesome, good morning, hi. And someone is like, awesome, you graduated university, congratulations, that's so awesome. And you're like, well, yes, technically I graduated, but I didn't make the honor roll and I really struggled with my courses. So as a result, yeah, I technically graduated, but it wasn't that great. Like, it's not that big of a deal. That right there is imposter syndrome kicking in. You achieved something and you're unable to internalize it. Or let's say that you made a beautiful cake, for example, and someone's like, that cake is gorgeous. Like, are you able to do that for me? Or is this something you do on a regular basis? And you're like, well, I just bake on the side. It's not a real thing and no one pays me for it. And I've never been to culinary arts school or learned to as a baker or studied as a baker. So it's just kind of a hobby. It's something I do on the side. It's no big deal. That's imposter syndrome kicking in. That's what that is. And there's also a component of imposter syndrome where you are so scared of someone calling you out or accusing you of being a fraud that you don't take action. So it keeps you stuck where you are because you are constantly afraid that someone is going to say to you, well, you don't have the qualifications to do that. Or last time I checked, that wasn't really your specialty. Or someone else is doing it better than you are. And because of that, you don't take action because you're like, there is a component of that that's true. Yes, technically, I didn't study as a baker. Technically, I didn't make the honor roll. And so because of that, you are like, well, I'm just not going to put myself out there whatsoever. And if I don't put myself out there, no one can call me out. So that's imposter syndrome, guys, and you have to be able to identify it. So kind of as we're going through the rest of this video, I want you to take some time and think, does any of that apply to me? And I'm going to give you some skills at the end to tackle that and how you can move past that. So that's imposter syndrome. That's the first challenge you're likely to face as you're stepping into your purpose or when you're starting a business. The second challenge you're likely to face is, let's say your imposter syndrome is not something you deal with, or let's say you've learned how to overcome imposter syndrome, you put that to the side. So the second challenge you're likely to face is getting stuck on the how. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you want to take those skills as a baker and you want to learn to become a professional baker. You are likely thinking, okay, I know I want to become a baker. I know I can bake cakes. I don't know how to turn that into a business. I don't know how to start making money from that, even if it's just a side hustle. I don't know how to start making money from that. Or will people actually pay me? Or, what kind of equipment do I need? And you start to think of all of these things. And as a result, because you don't know how to get from where you are to where you want to be, again, you just don't take action whatsoever because you're scared of making a mistake. So that is likely the second challenge that you're going to get stuck on. what's important to note with that, again, I'm going to come back, I'm going to circle around and then address each of these and give you some tools so that you can practically move forward. But what's important to note about that is that there is a way. There is a way. You don't need to get stuck there. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you some practical tools, like not just encouraging you and telling you you can do it, like actual practical things for you to be able to apply when you get stuck in these areas. Encouragement is great, but if it doesn't translate into action, then it's kind of useless. So that's what I'm about and that's what I'm here for. So anyways, that is the second challenge that you are likely to get stuck on. The third challenge that you are likely to get stuck on is discouragement. Discouragement is a big one because it can quickly spiral out of control. So oftentimes how discouragement works is, let's say that you started a YouTube channel. And I'm trying to use practical examples that are likely to occur in your lives, but might not. So even if you haven't started a business at all, and even if money is not even something that you're thinking about, but these are just things that you want to try, this is likely happening to you in one way or another. So that's why I'm saying and trying to give you as many examples as I can. So let's say you wanted to start a YouTube channel, and you decide that, okay, well, I'm going to give myself 3 months to get, let's say 100 subscribers, your first 100 subscribers. And you're like, okay, that's a feasible goal because, you know, between family and friends and people that I already know or my current social media following, I should be able to get my first 100 in 3 months. So then you decide, okay, I'm going to start putting out my videos once a week. Let's just say once a week. And in doing that, you give yourself the first month, it goes well, you're able to stay consistent. You do the second month, you're able to stay consistent. And then let's say the second week of the third month, you are not close to your 100 subscriber goal. You thought it was going to be easier than it was, but it turns out you're going to need more time than that. At that point in time, 3 months comes and goes, and that's when we usually end up getting discouraged. And then quickly, almost immediately after you end up getting discouraged, doubt comes in. Immediately. And then you start to doubt, okay, well, am I posting the right content on my channel? Am I posting at the wrong times? Is this really what people want to hear? Am I good enough? Can people not hear me? And then it just quickly turns into a downward spiral. And then it's like just a plummet from there on, because your discouragement turned into doubt, which then just downward spiral from there on. And you're doubting everything possible. And then because you're so unsure of yourself and unsure of what you're doing, you end up just quitting. You end up just giving up because you're like, well, to be honest, I only have 5 subscribers anyways, so I'm not gonna do the channel. And no one really cares if I do the channel anyways, because there's only 5 people watching. Listen to me. Listen to me. Even if you only had 1 person watching you, it matters. Guys, I come on here and vulnerability moment, I do these videos when nobody is watching. When nobody is watching. And that's for me, that's not necessarily for anybody else, because this journey requires discipline. This journey requires me to continue to show up even when nobody else does. The people who succeed are the people who don't give up by definition. So now after I've identified all these challenges, and likely these probably apply to you in some way, shape, or form. So what I'm going to do is now go back through all of them and kind of recap the challenges that you're likely to face, and also give you some practical tools as to how to overcome them. And before I do that, the reason why it's important is because each and every one of you has a God-given gift and talent and passions and skills that are God-given. Whether you're a Christian or not, there's something valuable about you. You have purpose, right? And it's important for you to step into that purpose and be using it. And listen to me, living in your purpose is not seasonal. That's not something where it just comes and goes and, you know, hopefully for this season of a couple years or a couple months, I'm going to be doing what I'm really passionate about, but then I'm going to have to go back to my regular job because, you know, it's just for a season. That's not how it works. Purpose is a lifetime commitment. It is a mandate. And for those of you who are Christian, it is a mandate from God. 1 Peter 4 verse 10. That's what I'm going to say. So look that up if that's something you're interested in. So again, for those of you who are just kind of jumping on, what I'm talking about today is 3 challenges that new entrepreneurs will face, or as you're stepping into your purpose, even if your purpose isn't necessarily entrepreneurship. So those are the things I'm talking about today. So the first the three challenges that I identified was the first one being imposter syndrome, which is an inability to internalize your own accomplishments, even as a high achiever. The second challenge I identified was that you're likely to get stuck on the how. How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? That was the second challenge you're likely to face. And then the third challenge is discouragement. And discouragement quickly can turn into doubt, which will then turns into a downward spiral, and then you usually end up quitting at that point. So those are the three challenges that you are likely to face as you're transitioning and stepping into purpose. So the first tool I want to give you as to how to identify imposter syndrome, the very first thing you need to do is acknowledge it. You need to be able to realize that it's there. If you don't realize that you're struggling with imposter syndrome and that imposter syndrome is what is affecting you, you're not going to be able to get over it. So the first thing is listen to the way you speak to yourself. If someone is complimenting you, or if you have just achieved something, whether that's maybe you landed a certain role or a certain gig, or maybe you were able to finish the first chapter of your book, or maybe for the first time ever you baked a cake, or maybe you cooked for yourself for the first time, listen to the way you are speaking to yourself in your mind. That is so important. It is so important. And so that's the first thing you need to do in dealing with imposter syndrome. The second thing you need to do is change your internal narrative. Change the way you're speaking to yourself. Here's how you do that. It's what I call repeat until real. So if you took that first step and you signed up for college, let's just say, and maybe this is you going back to college and you're nervous about it. So if you took that first step and you signed up for college, here's what I want you to do. Say, I can do it. Speak positively to yourself while you're taking this journey. Make sure that what you're saying to yourself is encouraging. It's pushing you forward. It's not detracting from what you have done by focusing on what you haven't done. Okay, so listen to the way you speak to yourself and repeat the positive until it becomes real, even when you're struggling to internalize it, even when you feel like, I don't actually believe this, and there's a part of me that just hasn't been able to accomplish these things. So even though I've accomplished this one thing, it doesn't count. So listen to me. That's what I need you to do. The first things, two tools to come to getting over imposter syndrome. The first thing is be able to acknowledge it, recognize that it's there. The second thing is change your internal narrative by repeating until real. Even if you don't believe it, you will get there eventually, but you need to put something into place to make sure that you are cutting off those thoughts right at the seam. So you got to catch that imposter syndrome every single time. All right. The second thing, when you're getting stuck on the how, I need you to write this down. Guys, if you haven't written anything else down, if you've never caught one of my live broadcasts, if you never jump on again, I need you to write this sentence down. Please, please. Here's what I want you to write down. I only need to know enough to start. I'm going to say that again. I only need to know enough to start. Please write this down. Live by it. Here's the problem. A lot of the time, we think we're getting stuck on the how because we don't know how to get from where we are to where we want to be. We feel like, well, I don't know what the first step is to take, and we get stuck on them. We're stuck in our minds. But realistically, the problem is that you're not looking for how to start. You're trying to figure out how to finish, because you probably have the first step down already. It doesn't take much to come up with the first step for something. But you're getting stuck on, well, so for example, you want to create, let's say you want to create a cookbook, and you know that you're a good baker or you're a good cook and that you can probably do something with that, but you're not exactly sure what that is yet. So you decide, okay, I want to do something with these skills that I have. So you get your first recipe and you get a couple, but then you're like, okay, well, I want my cookbook to have 10 different recipes, and I want them to be in one vegetarian and one vegan and then one gluten-free, and then the rest, something else. And so you're thinking about those things and you're like, well, I need people to try out these recipes and make sure that they're good. And I also need to think about what the design for the book is going to look like and where I'm going to publish it. And I need to have an audience and to make sure that I can get my book out to people. And these are all the things that you're thinking about. And you're thinking about the end and not the beginning. Your focus has shifted. You are completely off track from where you need to be at the moment. And so because of that, you're focusing on how to finish. You're not focusing on how to start. Because when you're looking to start, all you need is step one. That's it. You don't need anything else. So in that example of a cookbook, when you're just looking to start, one recipe is enough for you. You get that first recipe and you execute on it. And that's what I want you to take away from here. When you are struggling on the how, I've already given you that sentence. I only need to know enough to start. The second thing was you get step one and you execute on step one. That's it. One at a time, one step at a time. You will get there. But you get step one, you execute on step one. You get step two, you execute on step two. You get step three, you execute on step three. Do you see where I'm going with this? The end goal is not your concern when you're starting off. Yes, it is something that you should think about, but it should not be your focus. It shouldn't be where all of your resources are going towards. Right now, in order to get to the end, you need to start. You can't finish something you haven't started. Keep that in mind. So when you're focusing on the end goal and you're focusing on finishing, you need to realize that what I need to do right now is start before I can finish. All right, guys? So that's something that I want you to focus on. All right, and for the third thing, discouragement. When you are facing discouragement, a practical thing that I want you to do is give yourself some time. Give yourself extra time, more time than you need. So in my example in the beginning, I had said to you guys that I used an example of a YouTube channel, and let's say you were trying to start your YouTube channel and get your first 100 subscribers in 3 months. If that's your case, and if that's something a goal that you think you can actually achieve in 3 months, give yourself 6. Let's just start there. Rule of thumb, however long you think it's going to take you to accomplish something, just double it right off the bat from the beginning. And the reason for that is if you accomplish it in your 3-month timeline, amazing, that's awesome. But if you don't, you've given yourself extra time. I need you guys to realize that whatever it is you're committing to, you need to commit. That's what it is. You need to commit. And that means that you have to decide giving up is not an option. And so even when you're discouraged and even when you're not seeing the results, you need to have determined in your mind that you're going to continue to move forward. And so that's why I'm saying give yourself more time than you need and more time than you think it's going to take you, because you will get there. You will get there eventually if you can kind of curb that discouragement that's going to come in the beginning. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. The second tool that I have for you guys is get yourself a mentor, guys. Work with somebody who is just a couple steps ahead of you. If you are on step 0, do not, listen to me, write this down as well. If you're on step 0, don't look for a mentor who's on step 10. Just don't. Because what happens is because you're just starting out, step 10 feels unreachable. You feel like it's so far out of reach. And even though you might have moved to step 1, as you're moving to step 1, likely your mentor is continuing to move as well. So it's always going to feel like that person is so out of reach. And sometimes it might even feel like they can't relate to where you are specifically because they're so far ahead. And maybe they were in your position so long ago that they are maybe struggling to remember the feelings of what it's like to be on step 1 or the challenges that come with being on step 1 or even step 0. And so look for a mentor, look for somebody who can pour into you. And this is your way of investing in yourself and your dreams and your purpose. But look for someone who can pour into you who's just a couple steps ahead of you. If you're on step 0, look for someone who's on step 2, maybe even step 3. But try to keep proximity to your mentor. So in the sense of they have accomplished something you want to accomplish, but they're not so far out of reach that they can't relate. So that is a tip that I have for you guys as well if you're getting stuck on the discouragement part. And listen to me, investing in yourself through a mentor is one of the best things that you can do. It is definitely something that I did, and it made a difference for me when I was starting out my business, because I got stuck on all of these things, on imposter syndrome, on the how. I don't know how to get from where I am to where I want to be, when realistically, it wasn't that I was looking to start, it was that I was thinking and focusing on how to finish. And so those were places that I was getting stuck. And then I was like, well, I started live broadcast, no one shows up on my live broadcast, so I must be doing the wrong thing. And even though I've gotten some subscribers, and even though some people show up, it's not 100 people, so I must be doing it wrong. And these are the kind of things that I've told myself in the past. And so I had to come up with strategies and tools and learn how to deal with them so that I can move forward. Because all I need to do is take one step every day. That is good enough to get me to success. It is. Oftentimes we focus on what we couldn't do and how much we couldn't accomplish during that time period. But realistically, live by this. One step a day is good enough to get you towards success. Yes, it will take you time to get there, but you will get there. You can only reach a destination if you start on the path towards it, no matter what that destination is for you guys. So I want to recap those 3 things again. The first of the challenges that you're likely to deal with is imposter syndrome, an inability to recognize your own achievements, even when you're a high achiever. The second challenge that you're likely to face is getting stuck on the how. How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? The third challenge you're likely going to face is discouragement, which will turn into doubt and which will quickly turn into a downward spiral. And the 3 tools that I gave you guys for dealing with those things is, 1, for imposter syndrome. I want you to acknowledge that it exists and change your internal narrative by repeating until real. Even when you don't believe it, repeat to yourself, I can do this, I will get there, I am good enough. Repeat those things to yourself until you start to believe them for yourself. The second thing for dealing with getting stuck on the how is the sentence I gave you guys. Again, write this down if you haven't already. If you're being a little rebel and you're watching but you're not taking notes, write this down. I only need to know enough to start. That's the first thing, guys. And then find step 1 or come up with step 1 and execute on step 1. That's what you need to do. Okay, don't worry about the end goal. That's not something that you need to focus on right now. It is something you could think about, but do not focus on it, which means your time and your effort and your resources is not going towards that. That's what I mean by focus. All right, guys, so I only need to know enough to start and get step 1, execute step 1. That's for how to deal with when you're getting stuck on the how. How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? The third tool I gave you guys was for discouragement. However long you think it's going to take you to accomplish something, just as a rule of thumb, double that timeline. Just give yourself more time than you need, because in giving yourself more time, you also give yourself grace. And in my last video, I talked about the fact that you need grace and you need to give yourself permission to fail, because it's part of the journey. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And also for dealing with discouragement, get a mentor. Get someone who's on step 2 and step 3 when you're on step 0, who you can follow behind. Because guys, those footsteps, their footsteps that you're trying to follow in are fresh when they're just a couple steps ahead of you. It's easy to literally step in. It's kind of like, what comes to mind is fresh snow. So if you live in a country where you get snow, right after snow has fallen, if someone walks through the snow, you have fresh footprints. So you can see exactly the path that they took to get from wherever they were to where they ended up, because there's no other footprints in the snow. Nothing else is clouding, their path, I guess you can say. And because it's so fresh, you can literally step right into their footsteps and follow the path that they took. And that's just what comes to mind when I'm saying get a mentor who is just a couple steps ahead of you. You want to be able to easily follow in what they're doing. And you might have worked with a mentor before and maybe you didn't get the results that you want. It's okay to evaluate someone before you start to work with them. You don't just need to hire somebody because they're qualified or because they've done this before. You don't. So take some time and think about, who do I want to work with? What have they accomplished? And can they help me get where I want to be? It is okay to say no to a specific mentor and to say no to a coach or working with, someone who can help you or who you think can help you. It's okay. Take your time, come up with the right person. That being said, I am proud to say that I am on step 2 and 3 right now because I just finished step 1. And so if this is something that you want to do, if you want to learn how to step into purpose and start your business using the skills and tools that you already have, then I want you to head over to rjconnell.ca and click the Work With Me tab. Under that tab, you're going to be able to schedule a discovery call with me, and I can work with you, and we'll just take a couple minutes to figure out what it is you want to actually accomplish, what you have to work with, and then we'll figure out, okay, do we work well together, and how can I help you move forward? So that's what I want to encourage you guys to do. Head over to rjconnell.ca, and under the Work With Me tab, schedule a time to work with me, schedule a time for us to meet each other, and really start to focus on how we can move you from where you are to where you want to be. Again, my specialty is the process. My specialty is coming up with a plan to move you from where you are into your purpose and into your passion. All right, guys, so I want you to join me here again on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. This Thursday morning, 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. I'm going to go live again. So I want you to join me here. I'm also going to be teaching, so make sure you come ready with your pens and your papers. Before I hop off, guys, if this is something that, if any part of this has resonated with you, and maybe while I was talking, you thought about a friend who could really benefit from this, I want you to share this broadcast with a friend. All right, go ahead and just kind of tag them in it or send it to them, because especially imposter syndrome, it's something that so many of us deal with, but a lot of us can't identify. And because you can't identify it, you just chalk it up to, well, I'm just scared. There's so many other reasons that you blame, so many other things you blame it on, because you can't identify it as imposter syndrome. So please share this broadcast with somebody if you believe that it will help them. And also, if you missed some of the things I said in the beginning, just after the broadcast ends, go back and watch it. And if for some reason you can't catch the broadcast for the 24 hours that it's live, then what I want you to do is just head over to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to upload this on my YouTube page, which is just RJ Connell. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to impact your life and to live out my purpose by helping you accomplish your dreams. All right, guys, I love you. Have an awesome day.